In 2946, UEES Achilles, a Perseus-class gunship, destroyed 2 Vandal destroyers, culminating in a glorious victory for mankind against the Vandal at the Battle of Oberon. The task force commander for Operation Mandrake, Admiral Ernst Bishop, was so thoroughly impressed by the performance of the aging ship that he took it upon himself to personally lend his support for RSI to rekindle Project Perseus. Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this detailed look at Roberts Space Industries' Project Perseus. In this video, I will cover everything that you need to know about RSI's latest ship, Star Citizen. Alright guys, so the RSI Perseus is finally here. So the ship was revealed a week ago. It went on sale in concept form. So it went on sale in concept a week ago. It is priced at $600 a war bond and $600 and something, so a little bit more expensive for in-store credit. I believe it might still be on sale as of the making of this video. And as I said in this video, I'm going to give you guys all the information that is available on the RSI Perseus to help you guys understand the ship, to help you guys make a more informed decision. Now there's a developer Q&A post going up on Spectrum, but the Q&A has still not been answered, so I would have included that within the video, but unfortunately I've waited long enough. I've waited a week for them to finish that Q&A, and it still hasn't been finished as of making of this video. Now guys, let's start with some of the history of the ship. So the ship was made 430 years ago, so in 2520s. So that's 430 years ago when this ship started production. It stopped production 90 years ago, so it is quite an old ship. So this ship is still in service with the UEE Navy, and its primary purpose back in the day when it was brand spanking new was to patrol the Peri Line. Now the Peri Line is the demarcation line, or basically the DMZ, that separated human systems from Xi'an system. Now the Xi'an are a alien species within Star Citizen. They are a smart, capable alien species that didn't get along really well with humanity. Now, the Perseus was used to patrol that demarcation line, that DMZ line known as the Peri Line. Now, a little bit about the stats. So you guys are here for, obviously, to know the stats of the ship. I'm going to give you guys some stats of the ship. I'm going to give you guys my thoughts on the ship. I'm going to go into detail about the various offensive and defensive aspects of the ship. But please keep in mind that this ship is still in concept, and that's a really, really good thing, and I'll explain why later on. This ship is still in concept. Those stats are going to change. Most likely the look of the ship is going to change as well. Things are going to get added, things are going to get changed, so don't fixate too much on the various different specs. So I've been saying that throughout the whole Intergalactic Aerospace Expo demonstration videos that I've been doing. Now let's get started with some raw stats as the ship stands right now in concept. So it is 100 meters long, it is 50 meters wide, and it is 21 meters tall. It can support a maximum crew of 6. It has a maximum SCM speed of 92 meters per second, and it has a cargo capacity of 50 SCU. It has a single large life support module or component. It has 2 large shield generators. It has 2 large power plants. It has a large jump drive. It has a large quantum drive, and it has a single large quantum fuel tank. So a single large quantum fuel tank. It has 2 main thrusters and 2 VTOL thrusters, and it has 12 fixed thrusters as well. Now the ship is armed with 2 turrets. Each of those turrets are equipped with 2 size 7 ballistic guns. The ship also has 2 defensive turrets. Each of those turrets, which are automated, are armed with 2 size 3 Gatling guns. So that's pretty much it in terms of stats of the ship. Now let's go ahead and have a look at the various different compartments and facilities located within the ship. Alright guys, so from this photo you guys can get a very good look at what's planned to be on the inside of the ship, so basically the interior. You can see this from the cutaway. Now, according to the brochure, as I just read to you guys, this ship has large size components, so for the shields, the power plants, the so on and so forth. What does that mean? So what is that telling us? So it's telling us that this ship is not a capital class ship. So a large component is a size 3 component, and if we compare that to what we have in the game right now, so something like the Caterpillar or like the Carrack or like the Reclaimer or ships of that size have large size components. So those, as I said, are size 3 components. When compared to a fighter, for example, like the Hornet or something like that, they have size 1 components. Now, that's a good thing and a bad thing for the Perseus. So that means that the Perseus is not classified as a capital ship and it lacks those capital components. Now, the good thing is that size 3 components or large components will be cheaper and easier to repair than capital class components, which will be significantly more expensive. However, in this case that we have here, the capital size components will be better. They will be better in every single aspect in terms of their function. So 2 capital class shield generators would be much stronger than 2 large size capital components. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Now let's get into this image here, the cutaway of the ship. So starting from the front, we can see that it has a torpedo bay. So it says a military style launch bay provides a heavy ordnance platform proven to keep aggressors on their toes while keeping your crew safe. So that's telling us that it has a torpedo bay. Moving on to the middle of the ship, it says it has a 50 STU cargo bay. Now the cargo bay can either hold 50 STU worth of cargo and supplies or a single Ursa rover, so a single ground vehicle. Now the middle of the ship, the cargo bay, has been redesigned for the new version of the RSI Perseus, and as I said in the introduction, this ship is being brought back into service at the request of Admiral Ernst Bishop for militia, basically for militia use by the UEE. So the UEE wants to arm the militia to fight the Vandal because they're stretched thin at the moment. The government of the UEE is. So this cargo bay has been redesigned for civilian use. Now moving on to the middle of the ship, we have a mess hall. So it's a mess hall, a military style mess hall that can also be used as a recreational room. Then moving to the side of the ship, we have crew quarters. So it says comfortable accommodation for up to 5 human crew members, lets you take on long missions without baiting an eyelid. Okay, so the wording is really important here. So it says 5 human crew members. So is that a hint at at what's to come in the future, CIG? Are you guys hinting at us possibly having android crew? Given the fact that Leilani Addison has been elected as pretty much the emperor or the imperator or whatever it is within the game, and she's pro AI. So is that a hint of things to come? So basically, it says it has crew accommodation for 5 people. Now moving on to the back of the ship, it says it has a separate private habitation for the commanding officer. So the skipper gets his own separate quarters, which is a great thing. Now guys, there's a lot of stuff that's lacking within this ship. Now I'm going to start all the way from the top and we're going to go down and I'm going to explain to you guys what's missing. There's a lot of things that are missing in this ship in my opinion. So first and foremost, we're lacking a medical facility. So we don't have a medical room in this ship. That's a big freaking deal, guys. This ship doesn't have a medical room. I've never heard of any military vessel in the real world or in a movie, in a game, anywhere, lacking a medical facility. Now, I've heard the reasoning for this by CIG developers. They've said that they want to use medical rooms within ships as basically a spawn point for your character. I don't agree with that. When I die as a character in the game, I don't want to respawn in a medical bay on my ship. That's how it is currently, and that's okay. That's acceptable for now, given that we don't have the medical gameplay. We don't have the death of a spaceman. But in the future, I don't want to come back in a medical room of a ship. If I die, if a player dies, if a character dies, their body needs to be transported back to a larger medical facility, being on a space station or on a planet where they can do extensive work on the body, whether that be to clone body parts and body organs, to bring either that character back to life, or to basically clone his body all new. So I don't agree with the premise that a medical room within the ship is basically a spawn point. I don't agree with that. It's okay for now, given that the game is still in alpha, but in the future I don't want that. So in my opinion, how I envision a medical facility on board a ship is that it is used to treat minor injuries. So if you have a broken leg, if you have a sore tooth, or if you cut yourself, or if you're infected, if you come across injured people that you need to pick up and help, that could work. That's what the medical bay is for. It could also serve as a makeshift morgue. So bear with me, this is getting a little bit dark, but it could serve as a makeshift morgue. So if a crew member, if a player dies, and if the crew of the ship, his friends, can get his body back into the medical bay, they can hold him in sort of like this morgue, kind of a bed or a freezer, that's going to stop the body from decaying and further damaging the body, so they can get it back to a planet side or a station in which they have specialized crew, they have a specialized hospital room, and then they can bring the character back alive. So that's, in my opinion, what a medical room should be for. So this ship lacks a medical facility, and that's a big no-no in my opinion. So this ship also lacks an engineering room. So we haven't heard anything about an engineering room within the ship. How is that possible? I mean, where is the engineer? So it says 5 crew members and 1 captain, so that's a total of 6. So if you're going to purchase the ship, you're going to be the captain, and you have 5 crew members. So 1 for the front turret, 1 for the back turret, and 2 for the automated turrets. So that just leaves 1 extra crew member, not counting the captain, obviously. So that person can either be a torpedo operator, missile operator, or a co-pilot. So what about an engineer? We need an engineer on this ship. We need an engineering bay on this ship. I mean, it seems to me that this ship isn't being really well thought out by CIG. Next, we also lack a comms room. So who's going to be taking care of communications on this ship? Who's going to be passing information between this ship and the various different vessels around it? Is it all the captain? The captain's doing all of that? And we're also lacking an armory. We're lacking an armory. We're lacking security personnel on the ship. So who's in charge of keeping order within the ship amongst the crew? So what happens if you mutiny? If there's a mutiny on the ship? What if there is an uncooperative crew member on the ship? What if you get boarded? Who's going to take care of internal security of the ship? We need an armory. We need a security station. We need a security officer. Basically their job, probably a single security officer and 1 or 2 military MPs, could be used within the ship to keep order amongst the crew, and basically to help fend off boarding parties as well. So if you're the captain, if you're the gunner, if you're the engineer, you don't have to get up and pick up a rifle and try to hold off boarding pirates or whatever, or the Vandul. So that's something that CIG needs to think about as well. We need a security room within the ship. We need internal security for the ship, and we need holding cells as well. So if you have a drunk or disorderly crew member, you can just throw them in the holding cells until they get sober. You know what I mean? every single naval ship has a security detail to keep order within the crew. Now, we're also lacking a radar station or radar operating officer. So who's going to be in charge of scanning around this ship looking for threats? There is none. We need that as well, guys. CIG, if you're the developers watching this video, we need a dedicated role for somebody to operate the radar and the various different sensors and scanning capabilities of the ship to look around for a target. So the captain can't be a comms officer. They can't just fly the ship and coordinate all this stuff and be in charge of security. 6 crew members in total, including the captain, is not enough for the Perseus, for a ship of the size of the Perseus. In my opinion, that's not very good at all. Now, in terms of the cargo, the 50 SCU of cargo, it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. 50 SCU of cargo is plenty for this ship. This is not a cargo running ship, so in my opinion, 50 SCU is plenty for supplies. Now, we also need extra crew quarters for unforeseen circumstances. So what happens if you pick up some stragglers, if you pick up some wounded people from the battle, from an adjacent friendly ship, and you bring them on board? Where do you keep them? They can't just walk around the ship, guys, because as the ship is moving, so if the ship is given, like if the ship is, for example, in battle stations, so if the siren goes off, says everyone man your battle stations, everything on the ship has to be tied down, because this ship can pull 10 Gs. A 10 G maneuver will send anything and everything that's not tied down flying. So if you're a person standing inside the ship and you're not inside one of those G seats, so this is a term that I'm going to be using for the first time. So this is the term that I'm going to be coining here in this video, guys. We need extra G seats. So seats that are designed to hold you in place in high G. So imagine this ship takes a turn for like a 6, 7, 8, 9 G maneuver. If you're standing in the ship, you now have a broken neck, a broken head, a broken arm, broken legs. It's going to toss and turn you like you've never seen before. So we need extra seats or places where people can sit down when battle stations has been basically the order to man your battle stations has been given. So that's another thing that we are lacking. Now, let's move on to what this ship is supposed to be. So they call this ship a sub-capital slayer, basically a sub-cap killer. What does that mean? So sub-capital is any ship that is not a capital ship. So what are some of the examples of those ships? So that'd be the Reclaimer, the Caterpillar, the Carrack, possibly, maybe the Hammerhead. So this ship is designed by CIG as a sub-cap killer. So then why is it called the Perseus? Aren't those two terms a little bit contradictory? So the Perseus, if you guys don't know, Perseus comes from Greek mythology. So Perseus was a hero, a Greek myth, a legend. That Perseus, basically it's like a story. Perseus was a guy that went around slaying monsters much bigger than Perseus himself. So isn't it not contradictory to call this thing Perseus while calling it a sub-capital class slayer? So the monsters in this case would be the large ships. So this thing would be worthy of the name Perseus if it could slay capital ships, in my opinion. So this is a bit of a contradiction here, in my opinion. So wouldn't a Harbinger or an Ares, Inferno, or Ion be a better sub-cap slayer than this? I think they would, because 2 Harbingers, Aegis, Vanguard Harbingers, would be better at taking out a Caterpillar or a Carrack than this thing, in my opinion. What about the Crusader Industries' upcoming Ares, the Ion and the Inferno? In my opinion, they are also a better subcap killers than this 100 meters ship. So, in my opinions, now this is going to be speculation, so this is just me speculating at this point. CIG wanted to create, the developers wanted to make this ship the twin of the Polaris, which is much bigger. They wanted to make a Polaris twin armed with probably size 8 or size 9 guns, and then they said, hang on a minute, especially the marketing team. Whoa, guys. So this is just speculation. They probably said, hang on, if you make this, you're going to be basically stepping on the toes of the Aegis Idris. So why would anyone buy an Idris when you have a ship like this? That's where their problem is. They don't want to step on the shoes of the Idris. That's why it's called a subcap killer, which in my opinion is a wrong thing to do. This ship should have been as good as it is, and the Idris has better potential than this ship to be much better. The Idris can get improved. So can this ship. I mean, they're afraid of people melting their Idrises for the Perseus. If you make the Idris better, people are not going to do that, honestly. So, this ship, in my opinion, can be a Perseus if it has some larger guns, because as I said, it has some size 7 guns, so it has 2 turrets, one on the top front of the ship and one on the bottom to the rear of the ship with size 7 ballistic cannons. Now those are the same size of weapons that the Ares fighter are going to be equipped. So this basically has the same amount of firepower as 4 Ares fighters. Alright guys, so this ship's main offensive capabilities come from its 2 turrets. As I've already mentioned, they are armed each with 2 ballistic size 7 guns, and this ship also has a set of 20 size 5 missiles. And those missiles are launched out of 2 torpedo tubes on the front of the ship. Now let's talk about those size 5 torpedoes for a second. Size 5 missiles or torpedoes, whatever you want to call them, we have those in game right now, and they are absolutely pathetic. They're absolutely pathetic. The size 5 missiles right now that are equipped on the Vanguard Harbinger are lackluster. I would much more prefer to fire size 3 missiles or size 4 missiles than those size 5s. They do nothing. They seem to not do much damage at all. But keep in mind that we're still in alpha, and the devs have said that they want to rework the whole missile system. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt in the fact that those missiles aren't working as they intended. But let's just hypothetically say that they do rework those size 5 missiles. So is that an offensive capability of the Perseus, or is that a defensive capability? Are those size 5 missiles designed to protect the ship against fighters? Or are they meant to be launched at those quote-unquote subcap ships? So we don't know that yet. We don't know that yet because the missile rework hasn't come yet. We don't know how good size 5 missiles will be. So they could end up being really good in the sense that those size 5 missiles have the best of both worlds. So they have the maneuverability and the agility and the G-turning capabilities of the smaller size missiles, while at the same time having that larger alpha damage capability of larger torpedoes. It could be that. Or it could be that we lack any of those 2 advantages. So we lack the maneuverability of a smaller size missile designed to shoot down a fast, agile fighter, and we also lack the punching power of that large size torpedo. So either side of that argument could come true, but hopefully it'll be for the good. Now the 2, as I said before, the 2 size 7 turrets, one on the bottom, one on the top, in my opinion, aren't enough for this ship to go up against capital ships. And let's be honest, you're not going to use this Perseus to attack a caterpillar. Why would you do that when you can do that with the Harbinger, as I said before? So if you're going to go up against a bigger ship in the Perseus, those 2 turrets, in my opinion, are not going to be enough. Now, we don't know that. We don't know how good a size 7 gun is going to be. But considering what we have now in the game in terms of a size 5, I don't think those size 7s are a good match for the ship. And I would highly recommend that the developers take a look at this again, and probably, if they could, assign size 8s to this ship. So this ship should have size 8s in terms of those size 7s. Now guys, moving on to some of the defensive components of this ship. So they say in the brochure that this ship is from a time where human ships could not rely on their shields for protection, so that's why they had automated turrets to act as CIWS, so basically CWIS, so a similar system to the modern day phalanx anti-missile guns, Gatling guns that they have on the ships right now. Like in the modern day, like in the real world, they have these phalanx systems, 20mm, 30mm Gatling guns that are radar guided, that are designed to shoot down anti-ship missiles. So is this a hint that this ship is not going to have good shields? I don't know. I mean, this ship is a rework, right? So it's been redesigned for the modern times, so the shields could be up to standards now. But what about its armor? Is that hinting that the shields were poor, then they made the ship more armored? Is it going to carry thicker, better armor protection? It could be. We don't know. It could be. Keep an eye out for that Q&A, developer Q&A on the Perseus that's coming out on Spectrum. But in terms of defensive armaments of the ship, we have 2 size 3 Gatling gun equipped turrets. So each automated turret is equipped with 2 size 3 Gatling guns, one on the top at the back and one pretty much right at the back of the ship. Now those turrets can be set to be automated, so the ship's computer can operate those turrets, or they can be remotely operated from a station. Now, those 2 turrets, just looking at them right now, they lack coverage. So there's going to be a lot of blind spots around the ship where these turrets could not shoot down an incoming missile or a maneuverable fighter that's coming in to attack the ship. Now, in my opinion, they need to have probably another 2 sets of these turrets, one on the bottom and one on the top to the front, so you can get maximum coverage. But again, this is just speculation again. They don't want this ship to step on the shoes of the Hammerhead now. So they didn't want this ship to step on the shoes of the Idris in terms of its heavy firepower. Now they don't want to make this ship really good against fighters and missiles, so that it doesn't step on the shoes of the Hammerhead. Or they could make the argument that they've designed this ship to work as a team, as a part of an integral team with a Hammerhead, with an Idris. So in that case, the Hammerhead could fight off the missiles, incoming fighters, and this ship would take care of larger targets. That's a good, perfectly good, understandable argument. But as it stands, as what I can see, what you guys can see from these pictures, these 2 size 3 turrets, automated turrets, are not enough. There are some blind spots for these turrets, and that might be intentional as well, to provide a way for fighters to be able to take this thing down. This is a game after all. This is not real life, so we need to take that into consideration as well. Okay guys, so in my opinion, the determining factor of how successful this Perseus is going to be within the game is the distance of engagement. So we still don't know. CIG has still not fully fleshed out the combat within this game. So what is the distance at which a ship like the Perseus will begin to engage a small fighter-sized target. As it stands right now, everybody fights, whether you're in a Javelin, whether you're in an Idris, whether you're in a Buccaneer, a Hornet, whatever. The maximum engagement distance is like 4 to 5 kilometers. That's it. That's it. Most guns, regardless of their size, of their punching power, missiles, whatever, fighting happens within 4 to 5 kilometers now, maximum 4 kilometers. If that's the case in the future, which I sincerely hope it's not, then this ship is absolutely worthless. So the determining factor, the X factor in the success of the Perseus is the distance of engagement. Because you want to engage a smaller fighter, more maneuverable fighter at a greater distance. That'll be to the advantage of the larger ship. However, if you're in the Perseus and you want to engage a Javelin, you want to get closer to the Javelin. So if you're attacking a larger ship, you need to get closer. If you're defending against a smaller, more agile opponent, you need to engage them at a much greater distance to alleviate their advantage of maneuverability. So that's still something that CIG has not defined for us, really, which is the distance of engagement. At the moment, as I said, it's only 4 kilometers. So all the fights are happening around 4 kilometers, which is pretty bad. Pretty bad. Okay guys, so now for a little bit of a comparison, a bit of a comparative analysis of the ship. So let's compare it to the Hammerhead. So because of the size, it's probably more comparable to a Hammerhead rather than a Polaris, which I said before was, in my opinion, so just speculating here, my opinion was CIG wanted this ship to be more like a Polaris twin, but now it's more like a Hammerhead twin. Now, the Hammerhead, for those of you who might not be aware of it, is that the Hammerhead is a anti-fighter ship. So it's like a World War II flagship, not a flagship, a flak. So that's AAA ship. Ships basically that were designed to protect the fleet against incoming fighters. Especially that was evident in the Pacific War, where kamikaze attacks were a common thing. So the Hammerhead is an anti-fighter ship, corvette, that is designed to protect the fleet from fighters and probably missiles too. So comparing it with the Hammerhead is 15 meters longer. So the Hammerhead sits at 115 meters in length. It is 75 meters wide, so again 25 meters wider than the Perseus. It is 16 meters tall. So the Perseus gets the advantage in terms of its height, or disadvantage, any way you look at it. So the Perseus can carry 50 SCU of cargo or 1 rover. The Hammerhead can only carry 40 SCU of cargo and no ability to carry ground vehicles. The Hammerhead is equipped with 32 size 3 missiles, and the largest caliber weapons that are on the Hammerhead turrets are a size 4. So, as you guys can see, again, the Hammerhead is designed to take out fighters, is designed to suppress fighter activity around the fleet. But the Perseus is again armed with 20 size 5 missiles, and the largest caliber weapons are size 7s. So, what do I think in the conclusion of this video? So I want to go ahead and close out this video. In conclusion, would I recommend the RSI Perseus? Well, it depends on what type of gameplay you want to play within Star Citizen. What kind of gameplay do you enjoy? Do you enjoy playing with friends? Do you enjoy cooperating with players within the game? Because that's what you have to do to be effective in the RSI Perseus. So is the Hammerhead. You need a large crew for the Hammerhead. Now again, going back to the comparisons, the Hammerhead is good at taking out fighters, the Perseus is going to be not good at taking out fighters, and it's not good at taking out capital ships either. So what is the Perseus? That's the question that I'm going to come back to. What is the Perseus? It can't fight fighters, it can't fight capital ships, It can fight capital ships, but it may not be able to reliably take them out. So, I don't know, guys. I don't know where the Perseus is going to fit, but as I said at the beginning of the video, this is only a ship that's still in concept, and that's a great thing. If you're watching this video and you agree with what I said, please remember to like the video, and please remember to share this video with the CIG developers so they can make the Perseus much better. Now, I plan on doing a series of Spectrum posts on various different aspects of the game, especially with regards to military systems. I reckon CIG lacks that fundamental understanding of military systems, so they kind of lack that knowledge, that military systems knowledge that they need to make this game more realistic and more enjoyable. So I'm going to make some Spectrum posts, and I'm going to accompany those posts with some YouTube videos, hopefully aimed at the developers that will help them make better decisions. Now, in closing and in conclusion, would I buy the Perseus? Yes, I would personally buy the Perseus. I would enjoy a ship like the Perseus. But does that mean that it's a good ship? Probably not. As it stands right now, from the stats that we see, this ship is going to struggle. It's going to struggle significantly against fighters, against missile boats. Like, a single Eclipse could take this thing out, no problem. No problem. A group of Harbingers, Vanguards can take this thing out, no problem. And it's going to struggle fighting against something like a Javelin, or an Idris, or even the Kraken. So, in conclusion, I couldn't fully recommend this ship unless, of course, you are willing to wait to see if they change the concept. Because as it stands, as I said, it's not a hammerhead and it's not a capital ship. Now, if it was the Polaris, yes, the Polaris obviously has significant, clear advantages over something like the hammerhead, but this thing doesn't really, as it stands right now. But nonetheless, if you do enjoy that cooperative multiplayer gameplay with other players or with friends, this will be a great ship in that sense. Now, because it's smaller, it could also give it an advantage of maneuverability, so it also depends on how maneuverable this ship is. So, just like I said before, the X factor in this success of the Perseus, in my opinion, is going to be the distance of engagement. What is that distance of engagement? And if the ship is maneuverable, that's also going to be great for it. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching this RSI, Robert Space Industries, Project Perseus video. So I hope that this video helped you out. I hope I provided you guys with some information. Unfortunately, the Q&A post wasn't ready at the time of making this video, even though I waited a whole week for that Q&A to be finished. It wasn't. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys. As always, I highly appreciate your company. If you liked the video, please remember to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Until then, take care and bye-bye.